It's only Annihilator against the clock. Falcon Sailster in pursuit. They're coming to the finish. O'Donnell going to work. Here's Annihilator. Here's the final time. 1:49.3. This is the fastest race mile in history.
Hello, it's Bob Pandolfo. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Power Brush. It's Tuesday, April 18th, 2023, and we're going to look at some horses to watch from the Meadowlands from Friday and Saturday last week. Here we go to April 14th, the sixth race at the Meadowlands. So there's a horse in here named Kele. And this horse, didn't necessarily, I was coming off a layoff, right? This is the one coming off a layoff. Kele had post 7, saved ground, finished with good pace here. So needed the race, finished well. Kele might be ready to go next time out, especially if she comes back in this class. Now I want to go down to race number 9. Here you had a horse shipping in, Rocknroll Nella. Now this horse really, she really didn't seem to have a lot of class. She had raced at Rosscroft, but she had never raced around 2 turns that I can see. She never raced at the Meadowlands, that's for sure. But she came in here, and the last half was 56 seconds. So, the first half was 55.2, so it wasn't like it was a complete, blazing pace or anything like that. And she stacked wide late on the turn, well, actually at the 3/4, and she came 4 wide, and, she really finished fast here. So, I think Rocknroll Nella just likes this track, and I think she's, some horses, that's what happens, they'll come into a 2-turn track for the first time, and they really like it. They like the straightaway. So, and the wider turns. So Rocknroll Nella, that's another one to watch at the Meadowlands. So now we're going to go over to Saturday's card. And Saturday, okay, we're going to start out the first race. Imaginary Line here was saved ground, got shuffled back to 7th, and then angled out in the stretch and cleared late, had good pace. Imaginary Line, that's a horse to watch. And also from the 15th Saturday night, we're going to move over to race number 3. The 8-horse Duval Street was off a layoff here, saved ground. It was a typical, first start off the layoff prep race. Finished quickly, 26 flat, as you can see. Probably not a lot of value going forward, but this filly has some ability and looks probably going to be ready to win next time out. And then we're going to go down to race number 9. 9th race. This was a good race. 9 winners of 18,000. I mean, there are a lot of nice horses in this race. There's a horse in here, South Beach Star, that has always been a fast horse. And he stepped up in class from a non-winners of 75 to a non-winners of 18,000 off a snappy 2-move win in 149.1. This is a horse, I believe it went 148.1 though, as a 3-year-old. But now you got to watch these kind of efforts. As we get into the warmer weather. Now here was an off track. It was raining that night, but it was 65 degrees. You're going to be getting more warm nights now, of course. And what happens is it's going to be harder and harder to win from off the pace because the races go faster and faster. So here you had a race with a slow pace. 56.3 for these horses is pretty slow. The track wasn't lightning fast because it was a rainy night, but still, as you can see, if you look at the last half, it's 54.2. So obviously, no one's going to win from off the pace with that kind of, it's just too much. You'd have to go like a 53 last half. So really, all the horses that raced off the pace in here really didn't have much of a chance. And South Beach Stars, following early action, who really wasn't doing much, so didn't have good cover. The whole flow in this race got going late. And, South Beach Star was coming on nicely, finished in 25.2, so this horse is really good now. I don't know. I think he fits pretty well in this against these kind of horses. I don't know what his level would be on the top level, but he's still young enough where you never know. I mean, he popped like a 4:48.1 back when he was a 3-year-old, I believe. Let me see if I have it here. Let's see. Race number 9. Let's see, is this Friday or Saturday? I'm not sure what car. Anyway, you have to take my word for it. I'm pretty sure. Wait, is this him here? No, that's Rocknroll Nella. But anyway, he did go. I'm pretty sure he went and won 48 and won as a 3-year-old. So, and I want to mention something else about this race. I mentioned how hard it is to win from off the pace is that, you get these fast last halves. One of the things I hear sometimes is people complain about the drivers. They say, well, the reason why, closers don't win and there's not much action in the races is the drivers don't make any moves. Now, if you watch this race, this was a pretty boring race because, no one pulled until, basically heading into the final turn. But that's not really the driver's fault in a lot of these cases, because what happens is, and I wish that these YouTube videos were still on YouTube, but years ago, Hollywood Hayden was interviewing people in the paddock. And one interview with George Brennan, when he was driving at the Meadowlands, this is back when George Brennan was one of the leading drivers at the Meadowlands. Actually, I think he was the leading driver. He said something like, and I'm paraphrasing, nobody wants to pull into a 27 third quarter. And then Hollywood Hayden also interviewed during that same year, he interviewed in the paddock Brian Sears, who was also one of the leading drivers at the Meadowlands. And he said the same thing, almost identical. He says, yeah, no one wants to pull. So in other words, that's why the late flow, excuse me, that's why the outside flow develops late sometimes, because what happens is the horse on the lead has such an advantage and he can just rip off a quick third quarter. So, where are you going to go? Let's just say you're sitting 6th or 7th, and, you have to wait for somebody to pull. You have to hope to get cover. If you're sitting 4th and you're like 6 lanes back, and the leader goes 27, well, just to catch him, you're going to have to go 25 and 4, right? So the drivers figure, well, I'm going to get burned out if I rush up first over, so I'll just wait as long as possible, and that's why, the outside flow gets develop so slow sometimes, so late, and there's not as much movement as there was years ago. It's not the driver's fault. It's not like the drivers aren't aggressive. I know it looks that way, but the thing is that it's the whole dynamics of harness racing is different, especially in the warmer weather, and especially when you're looking at the better class horses. You look at a track like a Northfield, for instance, where there's a little more movement. Sometimes, it's a half-mile track, but the thing is the horses aren't as good there. They're slower, and they have more tendency to tire, and you can get a little bit more movement. Although Northfield is way more speed favoring than it was years ago. But that's it. It's not that the drivers don't want to make moves. It's just that, what are you going to do? When the front runner has such an advantage. But anyway, that's it for my horses to watch for the Meadowlands for next weekend. And remember to subscribe to my channel. It's free. Just click on the button. And good luck.